Welcome to Friday, everybody, and welcome to the Slate here on the DraftKings YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter pages. We thank you for being with us. Of course, a lot of football and whatever else we feel like covering here in the next, at this point in time after an overtime Madden sim. Patriots win, by the way. We got about 40 minutes to work with, so get your questions in, your comments, whatever it is. We look forward to hearing from you, obviously. Adam Kaufman, Steve Buchanan, Matt LaMarca, and boys, let's start with a little Thursday night football action last night. Now, I was here with Reed yesterday, and we were going on and on about, I feel like we spent a good chunk of that show saying the do's and don'ts of the Dalvin Cook situation. Wouldn't you know, he just marches into that game, makes everyone who doubted him look like an idiot, even by halftime, rushes for 200-plus yards, couple of touchdowns, adds a catch for good measure. He was awesome, and the Vikings somehow, some way, held off the Steelers after nearly blowing a 29-point lead. LaMarca, it was something.
It was something, and I was not a Dalvin Cook doubter. I would like that out there for the record. Mike Zimmer just doesn't care, right? He will throw Dalvin Cook to the wolves whenever he feels like he needs to, and he's managing for his job. The Vikings are trying to grab one of these final playoff spots. So as soon as he was active, it should have been a sign that Dalvin was here to play today.
Bukes, do you have any question going into that one, or did you load up on Dalvin Cook in your lineups?
No, I'm a coward. I played it safe. I had a couple of lineups with Alexander Madison, had a couple with Dalvin Cook, but that's what you have to do in those showdown lineups, right? You have to kind of build for every narrative you can think of if you're going to multi-enter into those games. But look, two crap teams going against each other, you get a crap ending, right? Because, the Steelers are somehow able to come back in that game when looking dead in the water. Ben Roethlisberger, he should retire sooner rather than later, maybe not getting to the end of the season. He just looks absolutely horrible there. But, big miss by Chase Claypool, kind of running down the clock a little bit when they needed all the time they could get. But both these teams are still in the playoff hunt. I guess if you can say that about them, but neither team's going to be going far, even if they make it.
I got to say the Claypool thing, I think, has been drastically overblown. He gave a little, which probably not the best thing that he should have done, but credit to the defender for finding that football and knocking it away. It's not like Claypool, launched the thing or spun it on the ground or anything like that. Like the defender just made a heady play. Yep. So I get it. Claypool has some mental lapses from time to time, but the hate that this guy has received for just a tiny finger point has been way overblown.
Do you feel like you learned anything about either team last night? If Bukes, we're starting with Minnesota here, and obviously, they didn't have Adam Thielen. They jumped out to a 29-0 halftime lead. Like I said, survived. It turned out to be a close game where it did hit the over. There were a lot of people that were assuming that it was not going to go to that kind of point level. I certainly was not expecting that, but ends up hitting the over. Vikings did cover and come away with the win. Guys like KJ Osborne, who a lot of people were high on going into the game. I talked him up quite a bit yesterday. He stepped up. He was obviously very good. Again, the Cook doubters were pained. Those who supported him rewarded. But can this team, led by Kirk Cousins, can they do anything?
Yeah, they can finish the season. And then once the season's over, they just go home. That's exactly what's going to happen with these two teams. These are not two teams you're going to fear if they somehow limp their way into the playoffs or whatever. They got talent on there, but it just goes to show that both teams are ways away from being an actual contender at this point. Letting the Steelers back into this game, that Steelers offense is absolutely putrid. There's no nice way to say this on this family-friendly edition of the Slate. That's just how bad I feel about the Steelers offense. They're going to go nowhere. The Vikings are going to go nowhere. But the Vikings I think are a lot closer to being a playoff contending team than the Steelers are. I think these are two teams that are going two complete opposite directions. I feel like the Vikings might be just like one or two pieces away from actually being a legit contender.
LaMarca, the Steelers were right there, and there's still plenty of season left. We're here barely into December. They were an 8 seed going into that game. They finished, I think, at the 10 seed, obviously, with that loss. As we know, like Najee Harris is excellent, and they're going to run him into the ground as they historically do with their running backs. You talked about Claypool, obviously, and I think it just comes back to the quarterback situation, though, and Ben Roethlisberger just remains as washed as we all believed him to be. We know he's going somewhere, whether it's another team or retirement, but he's not playing for Pitt next year.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about the Steelers. The Steelers stink. They're the fourth best team in that division. They're not making the playoffs, but I remain bullish on the Vikings. I, for my money, think the Vikings are one of the 7 best teams in the NFC. I think that they deserve to be in a playoff spot. We'll see if it happens. The thing, like, the Vikings are essentially the NFC equivalent of the Chargers. Every game that they play is going to come down to the final drive of the game. It's just baked into their DNA. So the fact that they blew a 29-point lead, not all that surprising, right? That's what the Vikings have been doing all season. So I still think this is a good football team. They entered this week 11th in DVOA. They have just vastly underperformed their record. So I still, if you want to flash over to the odds that you can get on the Vikings to make the playoffs, I would be interested in hitting that if you can get some plus money on that, maybe.
So to make the playoffs, let's see, where is Minnesota? Compelling television for everyone. So plus 175, yes.
Yeah.
Minus 225, no.
Giddy up.
Any investment there from you there, Bukes, or not sold?
I mean, there's a million bets I can take. I don't need to take this one.
Fair enough. Before we move to the main slate, I just want to let the people know, because to reward our daily viewers, this is what we were talking about at the end of yesterday's show. I bet Reed DK dollars that I could beat him in a showdown head-to-head using a kicker as my captain. God bless Osborne yesterday, or whatever the hell his name is. Terrific. Keep rolling your eyes, Bukes.
Just
keep
really
rolling
quick.
Your eyes.
Vikings 6-6-1 right now. Washington football team 6-6 match up with the Cowboys this week. You prefer the football team or the Vikings?
Vikings.
All right, there it is. Vikings playoff team.
Yep.
Vikings or Eagles?
Ooh, close.
Nah, the Eagles stink.
They're just going through a slump, a season-long slump.
Sure. One way to look at it. 6-7, one of it's just such a crowded, kind of putrid, middling NFC. You got Washington 6-6, aim for the Niners, the Vikings, the Eagles, both 6-7, 5-7, Carolina, Atlanta, and New Orleans as well. So yeah, I mean, it's a top-heavy conference, as we know. It's the Cardinals, Packers, Bucks, and then we'll see basically what happens. I mean, I don't know. We'll see what this weekend brings here. Obviously, week 14. Let's take a little look at what we've got coming up this weekend. And you got, as usual, some larger spreads, some closer ones. Obviously, the Raiders, the Chiefs, going to be an interesting one to some degree in terms of the personnel. That's more for DFS than sportsbook, obviously. But 9.5, the favorites for the Chiefs. You could look at Titans favored by 8 against the Jaguars, 8.5, the Seahawks in Houston. Maybe Russell Wilson can find a way to come alive here before the season's over. Detroit, 10-point dogs in Denver, 9.5, the Chargers favored against the Giants. Get to Sunday night, 12.5, the Packers against the Bears. And as Aaron Rodgers will tell you, he owns Chicago. Anything jump out at you guys? LaMarca, start with you here on Sunday.
I like the Browns right now, laying 3 against the Ravens. Another classic Bukes head shake. The Ravens stink, guys. They low key stink. They under the radar stink, but they're not that good, right? Just if you look at their game log, there's just nothing that impressive about that team, right? They're 8-4, but it took a 66-yard game-winning field goal from Justin Tucker to sneak past the Lions. Yep. It took a 16-point fourth quarter comeback against the Colts. This is a mediocre football team, and I still think the Browns are okay. Their offense has not been good. Baker Mayfield was hurt, but coming off of a bye, I'm hoping that maybe they have gotten things sorted out there. So if you look at DVOA, the Browns are the better team. I think the Browns are arguably the better team in this matchup. I don't mind laying just a field goal with them as a home team.
Bukes?
Yeah, so this game is so interesting because like LaMarca's making the case for the Browns, but like in the same breath, he's talking about this team has been bad. Like both of these teams have been bad. Like, can you imagine that last week the Ravens were the number 1 seed in the AFC? Like, what a total fraud number 1 seed that they were. The Ravens, you watch them play and you're like, this is the top team in the AFC right now. There's no freaking way that's the top team. Rightfully, they're falling, and now they're the number 3 seed right now. Honestly, I don't have a lean in this game. If you want to, especially when it's separated by like a field goal, it's like, okay, we'll bet on the better team. Who is the better team? Can you convincingly say it's the Browns? No. Can you say it's the Ravens? No. So when you get a line like this, nothing. Like I have nothing in this game. I like over 42.5 points. That's what I like in this game here. I think that's where we can get something that we can bet on in this game. But honestly, it's just 2 really bad teams. And the love seems to be on the Browns, which is never a good thing, which it never works out. When the love is on the Browns, it never works out. The only way that I can see the Ravens sneaking out one here is if they actually let Lamar Jackson run. And, it feels like it's been very inconsistent with allowing him to get these design runs. It seems like he's running more on, trying to escape pressure or whatnot. But that's the only path I see to this one. It's just, I have no interest in this game at all.
All right. Well, which game do you have interest in since LaMarca obviously started off with that
crap all over his game? Whatever
you
pick,
you may as well. He's rolling his eyes, shaking his head at everybody.
Seriously.
For a guy that tweeted out earlier today how grateful he is to be in the place that he's in, sure hates working with us.
Well, I'm grateful to be in this place because I can be a jerk and like no one's going to reprimand me, so I can just be myself. So like I'm very grateful to be a jerk on shows and no one's going to say everyone's like, oh, that's actually a good thing. So I'm grateful to be in this position. Right. Give me the Buccaneers. Give me the Buccaneers at home against the Bills. I would love for this line to be at 3. I don't think it's going to go back down. I think we're sitting at 3.5, but I think this is such a great spot for the Buccaneers. Now, the Bills just faced an absolute rushing onslaught from the Patriots. They're going to get the absolute opposite with the Buccaneers, who pass more than any other team in the league. They're just under 68% doing so on their offensive plays. No Tre'Davious White. The Bills secondary really hasn't been tested since Tre'Davious White went down because there was no wide receiver that caught a pass in the prior game. And then before that, I think it was the Saints that they faced. So they haven't faced a test without Tre'Davious White. This is the test for that secondary. If they can withstand, a high-powered offense, it's going to be this game here. The Buccaneers are a completely different team at home than they are on the road. They're averaging almost 10 points more per game at home. They're a perfect 5-0 against the spread at home. -3.5 against the Bills, who just got absolutely shell-shocked last week. I think you got to do it. Now, Allen's going to have no trouble moving the ball downfield. There is that there. But are they going to be able to sustain the onslaught that the Buccaneers are going to bring? They have too many weapons. They have a banged up secondary. Buccaneers at 3.5. I'm surprised this hasn't moved really all week.
So while I agree that, certainly, especially a game that's indoors against the Buccaneers, weather obviously will not be a factor, unlike what we saw on Thursday against the Patriots. I don't think the Bucs are going to treat the Bills the way the Pats did, with Tom Brady going out and throwing very few times. But we saw how susceptible that defensive line was for Buffalo, to the point where, I don't know, like if obviously I got some of the running props pulled up on the screen. Leonard Fournette, 58.5 rushing yards. It's not like we're looking for the Bucs to go for 220 or whatever on the ground. 58.5. I like the over there.
Yeah. And there is probably, that seems like a fair number. I'll be honest, I haven't dug into it, but like, take what you saw last week and just throw it out of a window. Of
course.
They played in a hurricane. The Patriots were playing like 6-7 offensive linemen at a time. And really, it was like one big play. That game was one big play. It was a Damian Harris 50-plus yard touchdown run. I continue to wonder how the Patriots can get as lucky as they do. You face a pass-heavy offense. Like the Bills might be the worst running team in football.
Yeah.
And they get to play them in conditions where you can't pass. It's just mind-boggling. Anyway, the reason this line hasn't moved is because while the squares like Steve Buchanan, like the Buccaneers in this matchup, 65% of the spread bets, the sharps, like myself, Matt LaMarca, are putting their money on the Buffalo Bills. 55% of the spread dollars landing on Buffalo. I just think this is about as good a chance as you can get to buy low on the team that, for my money, is still the best in football.
How can you say that they're still the best team right now? They have been struggling against good teams and bad teams. Like, it all started with that Jaguars game when they lost 9-6. Okay. They come back and beat the Jets. Okay. Anybody can beat the Jets. Fine. Then they get trampled by the Colts the following week. That's where it comes in for me. Okay. That it's not like this team is just, they run on a bad stretch. They're losing to bad teams too. That's the problem. And this is probably the toughest test that they've had now in months. Because, like, you're right. Throw that game out against the Patriots, okay? The real game's going to be the one in Foxborough, okay, when they're actually going to have to do a legitimate game plan and scheme against this defense. So I have no problem throwing that out. Kaufman wants to hold on to that and kiss it every night when he goes to bed.
Oh, I loved it.
Right. I know you
fourth child for me.
I know you did. But, like, you can't say the Bills is one of the best teams in NFL right now. With what you've seen over the past month and a half.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
All right.
Well, so that being said, LaMarca, and we'll get back obviously to the Sunday slate, but we brought up futures earlier with teams to make the playoffs. Looking at Super Bowl odds right now, the Bills have the sixth best odds, plus 1,100 right now. Of course, the Patriots have jumped in front of them at plus 700 after taking that first matchup. We'll see what happens in the second one in Foxborough the day after Christmas. The Bucs, the Bills' opponent this weekend, are the Super Bowl favorites right now to repeat at plus 550. Your most likely Super Bowl matchup, again, just based on odds, is that Belichick and Brady Bowl, and we'll see what happens here.
That's
how are you feeling
true.
about 11-1 there for the Bills?
It's Buccaneers.
You know how to read
Chiefs,
odds?
Kaufman.
That's not how you read odds. It's Buccaneers and Chiefs, you dope.
Listen,
Get off the Patriots love, okay? We talk about the whole league here. My God.
The Patriots are plus 300 to win the conference.
Well, that's weird because the Chiefs have better Super Bowl odds. Anywho,
right.
That's not important.
Okay, so
yes,
what I said is
Bills,
not wrong.
The Bills have
wrong.
value at plus 1,100. There's no doubt in my mind. Like, I think what this drives to is just that I don't see a dominant team in the league this season. I think the Bills are the best team. That doesn't mean that I necessarily think they're like a juggernaut. They can lose on any given week, but I think that's true about everybody. Look at any team that you want, and they have that performance that leaves you shaking your head. Tampa Bay, just a few weeks ago, lost by 10 points to the Washington football team. It's just one of those things where this seems like a wide open sezy. So the Bills are still like third. They're still third in DVOA. They're first in defensive DVOA. The big thing is, can their offense pick it up? I still have faith in Josh Allen. And I think that they're a solid investment. They're the team I right now would have the Bills versus the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl.
Good opportunity for you to put some money down on the Bills then.
Yes. That's what I said. Thank you.
I still think the Cowboys are the best overall Super Bowl winning odds, are still the best on the board, which is, I think it's 13-1.
Don't hate that call either.
Yeah, 13-1. That's crazy. Because I think they win this week against Washington.
They should win their next few.
Yeah, their schedule the next, basically the rest of the season is nothing to really worry about. So
I mean, what is it? Washington, Giants, Washington, something like that in the next three.
It's Washington, Giants, Washington, Cardinals, Eagles.
So four out of the five should not be a problem.
Yeah, realistically, yeah. They should go 4-1 over that stretch. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, think about take advantage of the number while you can get it, obviously. All right, fine. Let's go back to Sunday and take a look. What other games are jumping out at you? We talked about Cleveland. We talked about Tampa and Buffalo, obviously. What else is standing out on that main slate?
So I'm surprised. Well, maybe not surprised. But the Bengals were favored to start when these lines are first released. And now it's switched over, and the 49ers are favored on the road against the Bengals. This just feels like an overreaction to last week against the Chargers. Now, I know that they were getting blown out at first. I think it was 24-0 before the Bengals scored their first points of the game. The Bengals damn near came back to tie that game before a couple turnovers came over, and the Chargers were able to run away with that one. I still think the Bengals were the better team in that game. They just got a little bit unlucky. Now you look at the 49ers. Whatever that game was against the Seahawks last week, that was absolutely atrocious. That they were able to lose that game against a Seattle team that's just been dead in the water for weeks now. 49ers banged up again. Eli Mitchell, I believe, is out this week now. I think I saw that before the show went on. He's officially out. They're down. Deebo Samuel's been dealing with injuries. Everybody's been dealing with injuries. I think this is such a great bounce back spot for the Bengals at home as underdogs, +2 on the. I'd rather just take the money line up for them to win outright at +105. But I like the Bengals this week. I liked them when they were favored. I like them as underdogs at home. I don't think they're going to have much issue with San Francisco.
LaMarca, what's your outlook on that game?
I would just like to make sure that I have the thesis correct here for Mr. Buchanan. So don't overreact to the Bengals 1 week performance versus the Chargers.
Yep.
But ding the 49ers for their showing against the Seahawks.
The 49ers have been bad for weeks now.
They've been winning a bunch of games
with a soft schedule. Yeah. Soft schedule.
I don't know if I agree with Steve on this game. I think that this is kind of a pass for me, but San Francisco has just been lining up and just running the ball down everybody's throat. I don't like that Deebo is out or questionable. Like Deebo, obviously we know he is such a huge part of what San Francisco does. They put him in the backfield. He's their top pass catcher when he's out wide. Like he's just a very good football player and they use him like all over the place. So his absence would matter. Eli Mitchell's absence would matter. But I think the 49ers are the better team from a DVOA perspective. They're the way better team. The 49ers are top 10 in that department. The Bengals are barely hanging on in the top 20. So I'm not sure why the perception of the Bengals being this good team, like where it really came from, because while they did get out to a pretty good start this season, the rest of their resume is pretty mediocre.
Did you want to retort?
No, he's being a jerk. So if that's what he wants his opinion to be, fine.
All right. Let's go over to DFS. We can go back to Sportsbook. If anybody has any questions, get them in, obviously. But looking at the 11-game main slate on Sunday, and there are some Buke started to hit on it before, just some of the injury news that's come out here on a Friday, some stuff that people may have missed. Darren Waller is not playing for the Raiders on Sunday, ruled out once again because of his knee. You got Myles Gaskin placed on the COVID list for the Dolphins. DeAndre Swift officially out for the Lions. TJ Hawkinson is doubtful to play. Jamal Williams is going to be on the COVID list, or is on the COVID list as well. The Lions, coming off that memorable win, that upset win on their final play, are going to be very shorthanded in this next game here, with respect to obviously going out there and trying to win the game. But from a daily fantasy perspective, anybody jumping out to you guys at all for Detroit that you could take advantage of at a low price?
I mean, there is 11 games to choose from. I do not need to be going and dwelling in the Detroit roster and trying to find a play there. I mean, to be honest, it actually sucks that Jamal Williams is out, because I was very interested in Jamal Williams. It was such a weird game for him last week because they didn't need him to catch out of the backfield because they were winning most of the game. And that's kind of where, you need Jamal Williams, as if they're playing from behind. And that's obviously not what happened. So I would have loved for him to be active in this one. Because you don't think that they're going to win this week, going against the Broncos at least. So that actually was kind of a bummer. And now you're going to have to kind of go back to the drawing board and try to figure out another value running back. I think actually one of the better running backs, if you want to go way down the board, there is Amir Abdullah. It's kind of this perception that Chuba Hubbard is the RB1 for the Panthers right now. I think it's Abdullah. He's leading in snap counts since McCaffrey has gone down. His game log looks absolutely brutal when you look at it, but he had 6 targets last week against the Dolphins when the Panthers were way behind. So he's not really needed to carry the ball, but he's a pretty big difference in salary from Hubbard there. And I don't think Hubbard's getting the RB1 workload here. So 4,800 for Abdullah in a game where that actually should be close against the Falcons. It's probably going to be a slop fest, quite frankly, but I think at 4,800, he's someone that you can actually look for as a cheap running back, because the ownership is not going to be there on Abdullah at all. It is not going to be there. I would be shocked if he was more than 4 or 5% owned this week.
I could take a look at where things stand with the projection on him. Looks like, yeah, his projection right now is less than 2%. Obviously, it could change between now and come Sunday afternoon. That's where it is right now. You know, staying with the running back position, I had started to pull him up before you started talking about Abdullah. I know you don't want to fixate on Detroit, understandably, but the other side of that game, guy who's been had some very good games this year, and another Williams, Javonte Williams at $5,900 projects to be a not only a good play, a heavily owned play. So he's going to be chalky. I mean, his ownership projection right now is sitting at right around 18% or so. But obviously, look at the game log, especially the last couple of games when he has absolutely gone off. He's been incredible. I guess the question, LaMarca, would be, do you want to eat the chalk on a guy like this, or are you looking for other opportunities?
Chalk Javonte is a hard pass for me if Melvin Gordon is active. I mean, Melvin Gordon has been a factor in this Broncos rotation. Honestly, he's been the lead back in this Broncos rotation all year. So Javonte did have a great game last week. I hope he earns more playing time moving forward, but there's no situation where he's going to be a bell cow back if Melvin Gordon is active. So he would be a clear fade for me in that situation.
I want to mention too, just again, tracking the injury news, Keenan Allen is going to be out again as well, COVID list. So, COVID sweeping up as we get closer to Christmas here, which is
can I just give a play real quick?
I give as many plays as you want. We got about 15 minutes.
Alvin Kamara should be $15,000 against the Jets. The Jets can't stop running backs. Alvin Kamara is back. Mark Ingram is out. Kamara is going to destroy them. They made Miles Sanders look like an actual NFL running back last week.
Yep.
And now they get to face one of the most talented running backs in all of football. Kamara destroys them.
Yeah, he is projected for, just taking a look at his points, right around 18, 19 fantasy points right now. And you see him actually as LaMarca was talking about, sub 8K could easily be priced higher. You know, staying with that game,
15,000 I'd pay for him.
Taysom Hill, a guy that I never personally trust, but you look at the projections, ownership, value, points, all of it. There's high expectation that Taysom Hill is going to be a phenomenal play this weekend, that he could win somebody $1 million this weekend. Are you buying Bukes?
Yeah, I mean, Taysom Hill is super annoying when he doesn't have a solidified role, right? Because he comes in and takes, snaps away from other players. When he's under center, then I'm fine. I have no problem with him because now he's got his defined role. Now I can actually use him because I know what he's going to be doing in this game. You look at his stats from last week, pretty brutal, right? Completed 46% of his passes against the Cowboys. When he was under pressure, when he was under pressure, which he was, about 42% of his dropbacks, he was averaging. I got LaMarca. He was averaging less than a yard per pass attempt when he was under pressure. When he was kept clean, wasn't feeling any pressure. 251 of the passing yards last week came in that scenario. So when he's going to be kept clean, which he will against the Jets don't have much of a pass rush at all. He can be a much more efficient passer. Now, they're not going to need to pass the ball much because they can score twice and then you pack it in. That's all you need. Kamara's just going to run it for 200 yards now. But with the rushing upside that he brings as well, because you see only, 19 completions, 264 yards, but he also ran for 101 yards. I don't expect him to run for 100 yards in this game, but he has that type of upside. So at 5,600, it's crazy cheap for somebody with his talent. This is a more talented Cam Newton. This is a talent, Cam Newton from 5 years ago is really what you can say to this one. And he's also not going to throw 4 picks. He's what?
That was, basically MVP level Cam Newton 5 years ago.
That's a comp.
It's a bold comp.
I think I'd rather play current Cam Newton right now this week.
Than Taysom Hill?
Yeah. Just because, again, I think that Kamara is
He's
the
in
guy
a good
who's
spot
going
this weekend, current Cam.
Yes, he is against the Falcons. I think that Taysom Hill is going to do a lot of handing off to Alvin Kamara, and you don't get any fantasy points for handoffs. Cam Newton smash spot against the Falcons. Yes, he was dreadful in their previous game. That was against the Dolphins team that we all kind of like, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So I'd rather play him at lower ownership. I'd also consider Teddy Bridgewater at 5,700 as a pivot off of Taysom Hill. Again, significantly lower ownership. Just as good of a matchup against the Detroit Lions. But yeah, for me, like I said, I'm kind of putting all my Saints eggs in the Kamara basket.
Yeah.
You guys don't worry about the, obviously not, I was going to say potential, even likelihood of a blowout in that one where, they start straying away from Kamara and, looking in other guys' directions at that point.
If that happens, Kamara will have 200 yards and 2-3 touchdowns by then. And right? There's no situation when the Saints end up in a massive blowout game script, Alvin Kamara had to be involved in getting them that lead.
So to you, Alvin Kamara this weekend is Dalvin Cook last night.
I mean, I would say he's in a better spot than Dalvin Cook was in last night.
Well, what I mean is the results, not ultimately the spot.
I mean, am I going to say that Alvin Kamara gets 30 fantasy points? No. But I feel pretty good that he pays off his current salary. That's for darn sure.
Yep.
Some of the other own chalky players, I'm looking at it right now. We talked about Fournette before. He's going to be chalky. Austin Eckler, you guys brought him up. He looks like he's going to be in about a quarter of lineups at the moment. Josh Jacobs is going to be popular, especially with those absences there for Vegas. Mike Williams, I guess he was practicing today, so he could be back out there. He's going to be popular. Saquon's a guy, even at 6K, he makes me nervous. Looking at 20% for him, I know he's in a good value spot and all that, but Bukes, I mean, I guess it comes down to are there Giants, whether it's again Barkley or who else would there be? I mean, it's basically Saquon on the Giants side. Is anybody jumping out in on that side of the game that interests you?
Did you say 20% was this projected ownership?
Yeah.
That seems high.
That's what I mean. Could obviously change by kickoff on Sunday, but right now it's 20%.
Well, so I was asking that because I am interested in Barkley, but I don't know if I'm going to be interested in Barkley if he's going to be 20% owned.
I can't think. I mean, I'm seeing similar ownership projections, but he is priced at the same exact salary as Antonio Gibson.
Yeah,
I think Gibson absorbs the majority of the ownership in that price range.
I would agree. But I would like Barkley in that game because if obviously the Giants are massive underdogs in this one. So maybe Barkley doesn't get it done on the ground, but like he just got 9 targets last week with Glennon. 6 receptions for 19 yards. Wasn't great, obviously, but this is a much, much softer run defense than he's facing against Miami. Miami's just damn good. Okay. Let's just all be, we've said it before here on the show. Miami's just good defensively and offensively. Okay. They're a good team. If the Bills lose again, by the way, the Dolphins are all of a sudden knocking on the door, by the way. Make that perfectly known, okay? And I think the Bills are going to lose. So, Dolphins, just keep an eye out, okay? But this is a much better matchup for Saquon Barkley. He went down $300 in salary from the prior week. It would not shock me if he ends up with 20-something DraftKings fantasy points against this run defense, even if they're behind, because I think he's going to get plenty through the air because they just can't get anything to any of their receivers. What receivers do they have at this point? Like Evan Ingram has been healthy for almost 2 months. They don't even know he's on the field. They don't throw it to him. So like, who are they going to throw it to truly at this point? I'll take Barkley. Yeah. If he's going to get 6-7 targets in this game, he should do much better against the Chargers.
When it comes to some of the wideouts, LaMarca, I'm looking at it, obviously like Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Deebo Samuel, you guys brought up before, Chris Godwin coming off the game that he had and just who he is and what he's capable of. I mean, these guys are all projected to have very, very good games on Sunday. They're all in, pretty good spots as well. But, you start to tick down the board. If you're looking for salary savers, again, there's Mike Williams, mentioned him, DJ Moore, a guy that, is sort of quietly after being on everybody's lips the first half of the season, he started to kind of go under the radar in recent weeks. Both priced right around 6K. You go sub 6K. Jarvis Landry is going to be popular. Hunter Renfrow, all the more so, is in a great spot with Darren Waller out, obviously. Where are you guys looking at wideout, Bukes?
I'll give you a nice value. You can look up this ownership projection. I bet it's at 0. Laquan Treadwell for the Jaguars going against.
I was looking at him too.
Yeah, man.
I was looking at him too.
Hey, you know what? 3,400. Someone who's gotten 15 targets over the last 3 weeks.
3% right now. That's where he is. 3%.
3%.
Yeah.
The line's moving. People are watching the show. That's what it is. They're already locking in Treadwell. No, but honestly, like for a Jaguars team that should be playing from behind against the Tennessee Titans, who one of the worst secondaries in the league, you know what? I take that back. Maybe this is actually a pretty close game because you want to talk about somebody who has nobody to throw to. The Titans are that team, right? With all the injuries that they have right now. Could you name all 3 receivers on the Titans right now, Kaufman?
Nope.
Exactly. Right. Treadwell, 3,400. I think he's a great value this week at wide receiver. Should be getting some healthy month of looks here from old Tready.
What do you think, LaMarca?
Old Treddy. I do think he's popping as a nice value play. The Chargers situation, if Mike Williams is in, that kind of negates some of this potential Chargers value. But, there were guys like Josh Palmer that you could have considered. I wouldn't necessarily go there anymore. I think this mid-range of wide receiver is interesting, right? Like Hunter Renfrow is up to 6,100. And never in a million years would I have thought that a $6,100 Hunter Renfrow would be something that I was interested in. But it's something that I'm interested in, right? Especially with no Darren Waller again this week.
Yeah.
He's basically a lock for 9+ targets. He's at 100+ receiving yards back-to-back games. The Chiefs defense has played better of late, but they're still not good. And then if you want to go again, like a little bit cheaper, but very similar situation, Jarvis Landry, nobody in Cleveland, right? There's no pass catchers there. So 10 targets in their last game, 111 yards. Again, I've talked about the fact that I think that Cleveland wins this game, covers the 3-point spread. So they're going to have to move the ball. And I think Landry is one of their best options at this point.
Treadwell's up to 4%. Wanted to let you guys know. Renfrow about 14%. He's obviously climbed with Waller getting ruled out. Because
that's
Waller
actually still not bad
right now.
It's
but
not bad.
I think to LaMarca's point, that's going to continue to go up.
No, it will, but 14%. That's not terrible right now. Hopefully, it kind of stays in that range.
Just for giggles, Bukes, I pulled up the Tennessee depth chart. I can barely name 3 wide receivers on this team when I'm looking at it.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
Well, they do have Julio back, right?
You got, well, not right. I mean, maybe he's coming. Right now, he's still listed on IR. I don't know if he's coming back for this weekend, but right now he's still. But I mean, Rogers, Chester Rogers, Dez Fitzpatrick, who I'm not sure I've ever heard of before this moment.
Actually, wait a second. What about Golden Tate? They signed him like a week and a half ago.
He's not even listed on the depth chart.
Oh, he's still on the practice squad then. Okay. All right.
And then Nick Westbrook-Akini, of course.
LaMarca looks shocked. Did you not know that?
Math.
Did you not know that about Golden Tate? You look shocked. Did you not know that?
I had no idea they signed Golden Tate.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Tate putting in the work. They're all the headlines.
I don't have the brain power to keep track of practice squad players.
Even
I
those
limit myself to 53-man active rosters. That's
nearest and dearest to your heart. So we've covered a lot of different guys, and we've got a couple minutes left here. If we want to keep to football, or we can move to NBA or whatever in the final few moments before we do leave. But anyone that we haven't talked about that you guys are excited about this weekend, LaMarca? I mean, whether it's a stud play like a Kamara, but you're just so certain he's going to pay off his salary, or a value guy you got your eye on with a starter in front of him getting ruled out, or whatever it may be.
I know we like to make fun of the Jets around here. You guys ridiculed me for picking them last week. You were correct as usual. You're smart. I'm dumb. You're good looking. I'm unattractive. Whatever you want me to say.
Continue.
But we got to look at this team's backfield. With no Tevin Coleman, he has kind of been filling the starting running back role with Michael Carter out of Jesus. I can't
start over. Just start over.
Michael Carter out of the lineup. So now they've got this guy, Austin Walter, who's been getting some run, but I'm mostly interested in Ty Johnson at 4,400. He's a legit pass catcher out of the backfield. He's done that for them this season. He's got a game with 8 targets, another game with 6. I think at 4,400, he's a intriguing punt play that I think people could overlook this week.
Yeah.
Anyone you'd like to add, Bukes?
I just think that the tight end position is a treasure trove of value this week. And I don't think you can say that about many positions, but starting with the Browns, no David Njoku, right? That opens up things for Austin Hooper. He should be the top dog there. He's been the top dog in terms of numbers for all the tight ends that they use. I think they run like 9 tight end sets. So hold me to that number, but that's what it feels like. But leading the teams in snaps, most importantly, leading the team, the tight ends, at least in red zone targets. 24% of the red zone targets go to Austin Hooper. So it's actually kind of odd. He only has 2 touchdowns, but between him, Gerald Everett is getting a lot of looks in the Seahawks offense for whatever reason. You look at his last few games, 6 targets, 9 targets, 4 targets, 8 targets. Why Gerald Everett? Nobody knows, but his salary is hardly moving. He's still 3,500 going up against the Texans, bad team against the tight ends. And then even Nick Vannett, if you want to try to get a cheap tud there, 3,100, he's getting a couple red zone targets since the, now I forget his name. Trotman went down on the IR. So a couple looks in the red zone there, dirt cheap. Absolutely pay down at tight end this week. I'm not looking at Kelsey. I'm not looking at Kittle. I'm going all the way down at tight end this week.
Ian Rappaport, NFL Network. Mike Glennon has cleared the NFL's concussion protocol.
Glennon.
He will
love
start.
A quarterback with a long neck.
He really does have one. It's kind of wild.
He does. He definitely does. Okay, so more for LaMarca than Bukes, I suppose. But NBA, just in case anyone's curious before we get out of here. What is it, a 9-game slate tonight? Is that what we said earlier? What I don't know who jumps out to you most. If you want to give a stud play, a value play, I can do the same if you want.
Just play all the Hornets and all the Kings. Easy game.
Just that little light stack for you. Let me see. I'm just pulling it up real quick. And if anyone doesn't have any last minute questions, wherever you're finding us, go ahead and get them in. Miles Bridges absolutely is in a phenomenal spot. Gordon Hayward as well. So a couple of Hornets right there for you. Absolutely get those in. I'm just looking at what we have here. How about Chris Boucher for Toronto? He's
Bobby
in a real
Boucher?
good. Yeah, Bobby Boucher, Chris Boucher. Get the Boucher in there. He's 4K. You want to lock him in. Absolutely. And so, boy, there's some good value tonight, actually. George Hill, Jeremy Lamb, Daniel Tice, flat min guys that are all in pretty good spots. Vernon Carey Jr. as well for Charlotte. So anyway, that's about it. You got a lot coming your way here in the next couple of days. Obviously, the Sweat will be with you again on Sunday morning to give you an even more up-to-date look on everything in front of you on a very important NFL Sunday as we ramp closer and closer to the playoffs. To those of you that are out there in your season-long fantasy leagues that are maybe already starting in the playoffs this week, best of luck to you, obviously. For those that have weeks remaining, maybe we can help you out along the way with some fantasy and waiver wire pickups and all that good stuff. But Bukes, LaMarca, appreciate you. Eamon, our producer. T. Pike, undercover boss Tom, our technical director. Enjoy the Madden Sims the rest of the night here on a Friday, folks. You got games coming up, simulations at 6, 8, and 10 Eastern time. And then, like I said, the Sweat Sunday morning, the Slate comes your way Monday through Friday, just after the 4 o'clock sim. Oh, is it time to go, Bukes? All right, let's leave. See you later. Bye-bye.
Never shuts up.
Loves to talk.